Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go!
Evening, B2.
Hey B1, how are things?
Yeah, not too bad. A bit weary this evening. I've had a run this morning and spent the entire day in the garden, so lots of physical exercise for me.
Okay, looks like you've come straight from your run actually with your cap on.
Yeah, no, I just wear this kit 24/7.
Are you sporting your Queenstown gear there?
No, this is actually Two Oceans gear from a long time ago, but it's one of my favorite hoodies.
Right. Okay,
What
nice.
about you, Kev? Have you come down off your high yet from your big race in WA?
Yeah, definitely a little bit now, but I must say the last week was fantastic. It was just it definitely I was on that running high for the whole week and fortunate enough to be sort of away as well, albeit working, but it was nice to be at Smith's Beach. It's a beautiful location and just have a nice view to work from. So that was lovely and could definitely channel the good vibes from the race. How about you? You must still be on a high, I'd imagine, after such a big effort.
Yeah, it's been yeah, and I also similar to you. I had a fantastic time in Queenstown, and it's always nice to cap it off with a sort of a completion at least. So yeah, and I was very happy with it. It's actually funny though. I mean, physically, I've pulled up pretty well. I mean, a little bit of soreness in my legs, but other than that, it was sort of gone after 2 days. So physically good, and yeah, mentally is always an interesting one because I think in the past whenever I've run a marathon, that has been sort of my main goal, and so I've actually struggled post marathon to coming off that sort of high. I've always gone into a bit of a downer off the back of that, but this time I didn't experience that at all, and I suspect it's because this is just part of our bigger goal and part of the journey. So, took a bit of time to reflect on the marathon, but I'm ready to continue and aim for the bigger goal, Kev.
Yeah, and also probably because you didn't have, a massive expectation of yourself. And I think and you were going to a lovely location as well. So maybe, a few factors there. You look pretty relaxed in terms of the video footage before and after. So you had some nice things that you did, which
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's all been good. I mean, I think I mentioned to you, I had one negative moment more during the race and immediately after where when I got to about the 30K mark, it got really tough. I think I've forgotten how tough a marathon gets at that point. And I did have this sort of minute of going, this is crazy. I'm 30Ks, Comrades is 3 times. There's no way I can do Comrades. Started to think up excuses to give you to tell you I was pulling out.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was just momentary, and your mind goes all everywhere when you're in pain like that. But yeah, and I've come out of that a lot more positive. You'll be pleased to know.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, I definitely had those. I think about it all the time when I'm running now, about comrades in the distance. But my event had shorter distances, but albeit over 3 days, I still got to 50 Ks over 3 days, and you're backing up one day after the next. So for me, probably the biggest thing was just after day one, I had really sore calves. And that was just, I think, from the elevation. So each day there was sort of in the region of about 400 odd in elevation. I just think that took a toll on my calves. So that's now, just something to watch out for as well. And, both you and I are still doing work on strength and conditioning. So I'm just going to continue to focus in on the calves and strength, and, with conscious that we're going to have hills in Comrades as well, some serious ones.
Yeah, no, spot on. I mean, I won't go through my list of learnings from Queenstown, but I think it's always helpful to, these are sort of essentially practices for what we're going to do. So, and also just, yeah, analyzing how you felt. Your run was a bit different to what Comrades will be, but yeah, just sort of taking those learnings away and trying to rectify whatever you didn't do well, etc. So, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's been good. But we also had some exciting news on Tuesday evening, in terms of the Comrades launch of basically when the race opens and all the details about the race. So that was the live cast from Comrades House in Pietermaritzburg. How did you find that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, I loved it. It sort of it started to really feel real because, other than them announcing the date, they hadn't covered off in any of the details. So this was sort of the media launch, from the home of Comrades, and yeah, I mean, very, very sort of South African, wasn't it? But yeah, it made it feel real, and yeah, I mean, it definitely got me motivated for sure, Kev.
Yeah, definitely very South African. It's quite a formal sort of affair, but then there's moments where the professionalism just drops off a little bit, and so funny moments. But I have to say, I absolutely loved seeing the winner getting his green jacket, and he's one of the most humble guys, and his speech was very good and quite funny, where he spoke about how his life had changed, and literally he is a security guard at a mining site, and clearly not a wealthy guy, and spoke a bit about the winnings and how the family, had told him, when he had some doubts the night before and had a few problems, they said, no, just carry on, man. Think about the winning it and the prize money. And apart from that, he just said that, if you needed to book him now, you needed to make an appointment. That's how famous he is, type thing. But yeah, he was very humble, and it was a lovely moment.
Yeah, no, his face was just one big smile, basically. But I mean, it is interesting when you watch that. I know there've been plenty in the past where their lives are literally changed from winning that race. Obviously they get the fame, and it is a big thing in South Africa. But the winner's check, which in Aussie dollar terms might not be a lot, 500,000 rand, I think it is, for those guys.
300 now.
Okay,
Yeah.
300. Yeah, for those guys, that's life changing in terms of what they can put that to. So no, that's always quite inspiring to watch. The other thing I like, Kev, part of Comrades tradition is they always have a slogan, which I think is always a Zulu word or a Zulu phrase.
Yeah.
And yeah, they always roll that out at their media launch. Yeah, they've picked one this year, which I quite like. I don't know what you thought of it, but it is Ziyasha, which is translated as just "this is it," which I think is probably quite apt for you and I, because it does feel like this is it now. We've actually formally entered, haven't we?
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a nice word, and when I've watched other podcasts on Comrades, it's interesting. They throw that word out, that phrase a lot during podcasts, etc. So I'm sure that's going to become our phrase, and you actually repeat it to fellow runners, and it just brings on a bit of a smile. But I think you and I both jumped onto Spotify to see if there were any appropriate songs called "This Is It," and I think we found quite a few actually. So there's a couple of upbeat ones in there, which will be quite a good theme song, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was think there was Danny Minogue, there was Michael Jackson, and then I found one that I think might be the one, Kev, because it is upbeat and its lyrics are spot on in terms of the theme of the Comrades. It's by a band called Oh the Larceny. Anyway, we might actually play it as the outro to this clip this week, so people can have a listen.
Yeah, it's quite motivating. It feels a bit rocky, like so.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I likewise love that phrase. I wanted to mention as well that they're going to cap entries at 20,000 this year, and I know that they didn't quite get to that last year, which was not surprising because they didn't have much of a lead in time post-COVID, and quite a lot of messing around with the date. So I think they're going to get to the 20,000 is my guess. And I think the international runners will be back. The other thing I've noticed is...
Yeah, just on that, Kev, I'll just jump in there quickly. I mean, you and I jumped on straight away and got our entries in, but Yeah, I just went on just before we tuned in here, and they're at 9,600 already.
Yeah, I
So
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, I reckon they'll get to 20.
Yeah. So that's sort of without much marketing at this point. So yeah. The other thing I thought was quite funny, and it brought me back to South African days and growing up as a kid, was the two of the sponsors were just products that we used quite a bit in the old days. One was Deep Heat, which we used to use a lot for our tennis matches, and I remember rubbing a lot of that and loving the smell of it. Still do like the smell of it. And then Coca-Cola, which I don't think I've had a Coke for years, but anyway, Coke's a good product for a bit of energy. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, well, as we know, I mean, Coke was the drink at the drinks tables for years and years and years, and it still is. So you get water. It was always just water and Coke. I think now they've added some of the more scientific hydration sort of drinks as well, but Coke is still very much there. So we've got to get used to drinking Coke again, I reckon, Kev.
Yeah, hopefully they dish it up as flat Coke and not bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, that's good. And one other little anecdote I thought was amazing is there's someone running their 49th Comrades, and since his first run has not missed a single Comrades.
Yeah.
So that's unbelievable, and obviously that'll be even more special when he gets to his 50. But
yeah, it's unheard of, and I think he's quite a few ahead of the next one. I think the next one's sort of at the 43 or 44. But yeah, that's just phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's quite unbelievable. But and us still kind of playing our first and realizing how hard it is, and how much work we're still going to have to put in. It's just phenomenal to think someone's just doing that every year.
But Kev, we've built in a bit of celebration and a bit of downtime post Comrades for sure, but even in the build up, did you want to share a bit of that? Because I think we've pretty much locked in all of our logistics now as well, which is good to have sorted so early, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've got, after flying into Durban, we've got a little bit of time first with the family, but then we fly into Durban. We go to a golf estate called Princess Grant on the north coast, which is quite near the King Shaka airport, and it was a favorite spot of ours. Lovely golf estate. We then go to Durban to the expo, and then from there we travel to Howick, which is en route to Maritzburg and not far from Maritzburg. And I think we've got a couple of days that you've locked in for us there, just at a small sort of retreat, bed and breakfast type place, which will be very relaxing and just put our feet up. And then post Comrades, we're in Mshlonga Rocks, which is also just north of Durban, and a lovely holiday spot where we've spent lots of time, you and I, and the family as kids, and I lived there for a period as well, followed by a 5-day safari near Ladysmith. So yeah, we've got a fair bit locked in. I think you've got a bit more than that afterwards as well.
Yeah, I think I head to Cape Town after that, but it's nice to have some of those things, and I'm sure in the prep before it'll be all Comrades focused, but hopefully we can really sort of celebrate after that. But I'm not getting ahead of myself yet, but a few nice things to look forward to at least. Yeah.
Well, you certainly did it in style there in Queenstown with your onsen spa bath with the Queenstown Mountains in the background, and I feel like I sort of had lots of treats as well after my 3-day sort of odyssey. So it's definitely important to know that you've got something to look forward to afterwards. But I couldn't have wished for a better race in terms of the Great Southern, and we've shared the video and you've shared your video. I think they're great memories, and it's
onwards and upwards, I guess. I mean, you always remember those big events and big races, but I'm also looking forward to the focus that's going to be the next 6 months, and on that actually, I think you and I are pretty much locked in our plans for our official qualify. So you've got to run a marathon to qualify for Comrades within a window. I think that window already started. In theory, I could use Queenstown, but I would like to go a bit quicker because it actually determines in which sort of batch you start. The quicker you are, the further up front you start, which does actually make a difference in Comrades because one, there are a lot of people, and two, I think the timing works on a gun to gun, they call it, rather than, you know, when you cross the start and finish mat. So I think, Kev, we're gonna target a marathon. I think it's the 19th of Feb, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So 19th of Feb. There are not a lot around in Australia, as we found out in summertime, but Port Fairy is what we're going to be doing, which is an accredited course, and it's a beautiful little Victorian fishing sort of seaside village. So I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely need to get my entry in, albeit I don't think they'll have a cap per se. I think it's a pretty small marathon, but no, it'll be nice to lock that away. And also we've been quite strategic with the temperatures because Feb can be pretty hot, and that seems to be the temperature there seems to be a bit on the lower side. So let's hope they don't have a heat wave or anything, but that'll be important. And I suppose we never know for Comrades. They've actually had a few hot Comrades despite it being June, and as we know in South Africa during the day it does tend to warm up, so kind of makes it harder when you're I don't know 5-6 hours in and starts warming up. That could be a factor as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I did actually have a bit of a think as they were at the launch, put it out the slide there with a 5:30 a.m. start in Pietermaritzburg. I've spent a bit of time in Pietermaritzburg, and that'll be winter. It gets very cold there in the winter, so we'll start off in the freezing cold, and then no doubt it'll warm up, and in the pitch dark, obviously, as well.
Yeah, we'll have to get some of those garbage bags, just so you can keep warm, or a space blanket or something.
Yeah, I might go a bit more high tech than that, Ken.
I thought we'd try and get into A batch somehow and try and get on TV and do one of those. There's always someone who's normally quite a good runner. They've obviously got into A batch and they're trying to get on TV, and they run the first like 15 to 20 Ks really hard, and then there's all this speculation around who they are and where they've come from and could they win Comrades, and they always fall away.
Yeah. I don't think that'll be you or I, because I think to get into that A batch, I think you've probably B batch. I know you've got to go under 320. C batch, which we're going for, you've got to go under 340 for a marathon. Yeah. A batch, I suspect it's probably under 3 hours or something like that. So
yeah. Well, those guys doing that are still good runners, but it's always quite amusing.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Now, I think if we don't have a quote, I think the obvious quote is the Zulu word we spoke about afterwards. Can we use that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, why don't you finish off with it just to remind everyone?
Okay, yeah. So the word is Ziyasha. Hopefully I got that pronunciation right. Ziyasha. This is it.
Nice. Have a good week, Kev.
You too. See you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Memory, making history. Let's go. You don't need no luck with that golden touch. Time to light it up. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it.